What's up, Hornets fans, and welcome back to another edition of the Hornets Daily podcast. My name is Tayvon, and we got ourselves a great show for you guys for today. 4 topics on the Charlotte Hornets, as always. As you guys already know, we're dealing with the offseason as of right now, so we have limited news, but we still got something for you guys just to take a look at and discuss about certain things about the Charlotte Hornets. So let's get it started. Before we get into the main topics, gotta go through the quick notes, as you guys already know. Bleacher Report put out an article as of recently in regards to Brandon Miller in terms of his play and what he feels, or what everybody feels, is he's going to be one of the best players to be proven for every team, and they named him for that team, for the Charlotte Hornets, if anything. So that's something to look at. We'll probably take a look at that tomorrow. Charlotte Hornets is going to be currently at 81 overall on NBA 2K. They're one of the top 10 worst teams in NBA 2K, with the starting lineup of White, Brandon Miller, Con Knipple, Naz Reid, and Colt Brenner as the 1 through 5 in terms of their ratings. We will discuss about their ratings tomorrow. In terms of that, we'll probably go a little bit more in depth into it. Charles Lee talking to WSC9 of pretty much that TV network that is going to be broadcasting Charlotte Hornets games, talks and made an interview for one-on-one. Should be intriguing to see that as well. And then last but not least, same thing for Con Knipple. He did the same thing as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's a lot of quick notes to basically go through. Also, for me, it's been 2 days that we have not posted a video. That is because on Sunday, that was my birthday. Pretty much went out and did not do anything for Monday from that point of time. So just figure it has a quick days off. I do appreciate you guys, if anything. And as I said, we're back now to give you guys some more videos. So let's get it started. First topic of today, Dennis Schroeder basically said in since the trade, and talked to a German reporter, because it was made by, I'm not even going to pronounce the name at that point, but it was sought out from an article in Germany saying of Dennis Schroeder's Hornets trade, and what his situation is. And obviously he's excited to go to the Charlotte Hornets, but he did mention of the trade knowing since a month later. Now, Dennis Schroeder says in this article, he says, "I've known for a month. I think it's a better situation for me because I can play the way I normally play. Behind James Harden and Donovan Mitchell, you somehow have to be effective in a different way, an extremely difficult role." Dennis Schroeder goes on to say on mentoring the German rookies Hannes Steinbach and Christian Anderson Jr., he said, "For the two of them, it's of course a blessing that they have someone they can talk to in their native language. I think it would be great if I had been back there then." So, ladies and gentlemen, he believes, as of right now, with the current workings of the team, of course, and how things are looking as of right now, he believes that it's the best feeling to work with this German young group that it is, with Hennes Steinbach and also Christian Anderson Jr., but also feels like his role is a little bit more difficult to play, especially alongside of people such as James Harden and Donovan Mitchell. Is a little bit difficult. He said he's known for a month, knowing that he is going to be playing on the Charlotte Hornets, or at least getting traded to the Charlotte Hornets. So this deal was already in motion. It seems like there was just one counterpart of why this deal was still, awaiting, if anything. And it's probably because of either a guaranteed contract, or for the Cleveland Cavaliers or the Charlotte Hornets to basically accept him, or maybe they were still trying to work out the terms of the deal and see, what can work and how it can work with Dennis Schroeder from that point on. So again, now that Schroeder is playing for the Charlotte Hornets, he has a more bigger role, has a backup guard underneath the head coach, Charles Lee. He'll be competing with Kobe White for the starting position, which obviously we know Kobe White is going to win that starting position no matter what. So he's going to get a backup point guard role, right? And to be honest with you, I can see lineups where you play combo guard with Dennis Schroeder and Kobe White. Kobe White playing the 2 here and there just to fill in some space, and then Dennis Schroeder playing the 1 to basically give some relief at that point guard spot, right? At certain points of the game, right? With Con Knipple probably sitting or resting, or Brandon Miller sitting and resting. you can now put Dennis Schroeder in those situations and spots. So it does make the situation a little bit better in terms of our backup guard role and in terms of point guard play just in general. Because before, what we had was Trey Mann or Sion James or Christian Anderson Jr. right out the gate, raw prospect coming in and basically playing as a backup point guard, which was not going to work. And I feel Coach Charles Lee or Jeff Peterson's mind from that point on. So the fact that we were able to land somebody that is very good at taking care of the ball, that is very good at playmaking, and is very good at, just doing what he needs to do to pretty much get his teammates involved, and also had the long reach hands and long outstretched hands that Dennis Schroeder has, because he is a really good person that can basically handle the ball, catch the ball, and pretty much finish around the lane, because he has also some tricks and moves, just like a similar rating to kind of like a Rajon Rondo in a way. Obviously, he's not Rondo, but he is somebody that has kind of the same model or game as of Rondo, if anything, because again, he is not the best 3-point shooter, but he can definitely put it up, and he can definitely get to his mid-range. He can also, as I said, manipulate other players' floor to create advantages for his team. Now, Richie from the Buzzbeat podcast, right? He put it out there. He said he ran through all of Dennis Schroeder's assists from Sacramento and also from Cleveland. Here was some takeaways. He said he's a good read at baseline driving. He has a comfort level with pocket passes, so he can pretty much feed into somebody, especially in the PNR. This is great for Hennes Steinbach, for especially him getting and rolling straight to the rim, or Moussa Diabate rolling straight to the rim. Uses his eyes well to hold off defenders, so does a great job knowing and anticipating what defenders will want him to do. And it makes very simple cross-court passes to effectively shift defenses. So again, if he is driving around the basket, he can manipulate defense to basically make some really good cross-court passes around the other side of the court. And I feel as though with Dennis Schroeder, he could definitely do the playmaking stick. He can really drive, reinforce in terms of that, but he can also put some points on the board. He is effective when he can also score the basketball as well, and he's shown plenty of times that he can score the basketball pretty solidly at times and not be inefficient in terms of a game, right? So Dennis Schroeder is going to help out this team a lot, especially being a backup guard. Cannot wait to see the progress of this team, especially alongside with Dennis Schroeder, and especially the younger guys with Steinbach and Dennis Schroeder. Steinbach and Christian Anderson all learning from this German native as well, in today's current language, their native language, and also too just on the basketball court. So we can't wait for it. Hopefully we do see some improvement with those young guys, with Dennis Schroeder being there. You guys let me know how you feel about Dennis Schroeder's comments. He said that he had a difficult time, or pretty much a difficult role, with James Harden, and Donovan Mitchell had a pretty eventful outlook of basically playing with the Charlotte Hornets and Coach Charles Lee and the rest of them. So let me know in the comment section how you feel about Dennis Schroeder and his comments, but also let me know how you feel about the trade. I know it's a few days from now. Obviously, a lot of people are probably already ecstatic of the fact that Trey Mann is going to be gone, and we're finally going to get another backup point guard. But again, some people don't like Dennis Schroeder, right? And I understand he's a little, you could say a little cocky or a little bit confident above himself, which again, we still need certain players like that on our team. We have Grayson Allen and now Dennis Schroeder basically coming onto a team now. So it's going to be a little bit of hell coming off that bench for opposing teams, knowing that these two is going to be talking off your ear and basically competing with you guys. But again, that's exactly what the type of players that it seems like we are looking for, in the sense we need somebody that's going to provide some toughness, some nasty here and there. And Dennis Schroeder and Grayson Allen is going to definitely do that for this team. So let me know in the comment section how you guys feel about Dennis Schroeder and his communication towards the German reporter, and about the Cleveland Cavaliers situation. We're going to go into a topic number 2. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a new assistant coach. I don't know if you guys know, but according to Mike A. Scotto from Hoops Hype, we officially are adding John Bryan as assistant coach. Now, if you guys don't know John Bryan is previously worked with the Chicago Bulls when Kobe White was pretty much on the team, and he was an assistant for the Chicago Bulls during that time. He worked very exclusively with Kobe White and Billy Donovan's staff during that time. He also worked as an assistant coach as for the Philadelphia 76ers underneath Brett Brown's staff. So he has been around the block plenty of times, and he's actually been very good in terms of developing younger guards, such as Josh Giddey, such as Kobe White, and a couple other players as well. So again, ladies and gentlemen, it shows and goes to show the fact that John Bryan might be a great add in terms of the addition of helping these younger guards that's going to be on this team. We already have Brandon Miller, technically you could say a wing player. And you could say Kobe White is still, would be very lovely to basically continue adding on to his game, or at least gaining some chemistry with his assistant coach, which the assistant coach will then basically pass off his knowledge to the younger players from that point on. I think that works out in the favor of obviously the younger guys on this group. Obviously, Con Knipple is going to improve his ball handling, right? Or maybe situational awareness of basically how to get to the rim, how to basically get his shots off, which I'm pretty sure he already knows how to do, but just to do it more efficiently and better, I think John Bryan is going to definitely do that on a consistent rate. With Christian Anderson, he is going to implement and show him, hey, this guy can at least help me out, getting to the rim, at least getting my shot off at any point in time, getting the floater game going, because he does it so well, but he just never does it on a consistent basis. He's more reliable on taking those 3-point jump shots. So again, it goes to show that this assistant coach could pretty much help us in the long run. Now, we did, if I'm not mistaken, we did end up, no, we did not end up losing an assistant coach. We ended up losing our G League coach. So it may seem that John Bryan could, go into the ventures of G League head coach eventually during this time. But again, I highly doubt it. He's been around the block as assistant coach. Eventually, he's going to want a head coach spot. So this is probably his last stop until he gets that head coaching spot, just in general for NBA sit purposes. But it does seem, in terms of the Charlotte Hornets, they are bringing a guy that is going to help out in terms of point guard, in terms of guard play in general, and has helped guard play throughout his time, especially in Philadelphia, especially in Chicago, this time now with the Charlotte Hornets. You guys let me know how you guys feel about the assistant head coach with John Bryan coming in and to help out with this group. You guys can let me know. And again, you can read up on them on Google if you want, or on Twitter, because again, the Hornets Reddit has posted out his job and his info in terms of what he has done and what he has created with his time, especially being a assistant head coach with Brett Brown. This is Brett Brown with Markelle Fultz, Ben Simmons, and a couple other guards, JJ Redick and the rest of them that was there during that time. Well, JJ Redick was a little bit older, but you guys understand what I'm saying. And then also with Chicago Bulls with Kobe White, Josh Giddey, and the rest of the other guard group that was there. They did a pretty good job. So you guys let me know in the comment section how you guys feel about John Bryan being our new assistant head coach for the Charlotte Hornets. We're going to go to our third topic for today. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an SI article for once. We can never have a SI article in these episodes, ladies and gentlemen. These episodes also, it's fun. I could pretty much say it's that Sports Illustrated Charlotte Hornets has been providing some really good ideas and really good pieces to think about, right? Or have some discussion about, right? So this is the SI article is made by Zach Roberts. He is playing GM for 1 year. You have 1 year to make the Charlotte Hornets into a Eastern Conference contender, if anything, or a playoff contender, if anything, or at least a playoff destination, right? Where the Charlotte Hornets make it to the playoffs and they help out and they do whatever they need to do, right? Playing GM for 1 year. 1 year moves to make the Hornets a contender. Here's how the Hornets can become a true contender in 1 year. This is exactly what Zach Roberts had to say. He said the Hornets may not have been a true playoff contender last year, but they did seem close. Nevertheless, GM Peterson, or Jeff Peterson, opted to push a true contender down the line to hopefully build a more sustainable team. The Hornets don't necessarily have to make the leap this year and offseason, but they can make some moves to jump into the status by opening night for 2027. Move number 1, he says, to extend Brandon Miller. He said Brandon Miller extension should be high to do on the list, and while there's risk in doing that, there's also a possibility that the extension sooner rather than later will save the Hornets money right now. he is probably not worth the max extension. But if the Hornets can extend him for 5 years and roughly a $200 million deal instead of a maximum of $251 million that he could earn, and it shows the Hornets don't overpay or risk letting him go into restricted free agency, as you guys already see how some of that has been playing out for players like Jalen Duren and Peyton Watson. They're waiting for their money and they want all of their money. So again, it may be a good idea to basically send him something now while he is still recovering from the shoulder injury, and seems like he is not going to be recovering very quickly, according to Coach Charles Lee, which they had a little bit of scoop about him in terms of recovery for Brandon Miller. He may not be back by time of the preseason or by time of the first regular season game. So it goes to show like, hey, Brandon Miller could, inch his way back the same way he did last season in terms of the shoulder surgery and in terms of the shoulder problem that he has. He may inch his way back a little bit more sooner than later, but just, not at the first glance of it, right? So move number 2 they have is trade Grant Williams at the deadline. He said, I like Grant Williams. I think he's an excellent backup for the Charlotte Hornets. That's being said, he's also on an expiring contract on a team without ample cap space, and the team doesn't appear poised for contention this year. For this scenario, the Hornets will mender to a decent record by the deadline, but still trade Williams for a couple of future second-round picks, which is better than letting him walk for nothing. Those picks aren't highly valuable, but it will help in future trade talks when it comes down to it. So he said the second move that he will make is Grant Williams being traded, and to be honest with you, probably the best move, because again, Grant Williams is the only, if I'm not mistaken, one of the only players on the Charlotte Hornets currently right now that has a expiring contract as it is. He serves his purpose very well. He would help a contending team or a team that is looking to basically make a push in the playoffs will be a little bit better because of his defensive stats. Regardless if he's not that impactful on the defensive end or have the most athleticism on the defensive end, he does his job so well on the defensive end that he is staying on the floor. And then again, he's a 3-and-D maestro. He's a person that is going to come up to the other side of the court, hit some threes on the other end, and play some really good defense on one other end, and also has the base to basically play some small ball center and play some power forward, if anything. So Grant Williams would be a very good person to pretty much have during that deadline, especially if you're trying to fill up some depth spots in your roster during that time. Move number 3, he says, waive or trade Dorian Finney-Smith. He said, this is simple, but after the season, move on from Dorian Finney-Smith. If he rebuilt his value enough, assuming that he makes this roster this season, then trade him. If not, then waive him, since his contract is not guaranteed beyond the season anyway. We already discussed about Dorian Finney-Smith, and we was discussing and saying that, hey, if he does raise his value and does raise his floor a little bit, we can trade him for a second-round pick or something. And similar to that, and basically with that Houston Rockets trade, we will basically get 4 second-round picks or 5 second-round picks based off his value and based on what he's doing. Now, if he doesn't meet the expectation, of course, we can just waive him and understand that his contract is not guaranteed beyond the season anyway. So he's going to be, making money this season, but next season he's not going to be making money at all in terms of his guaranteed contract. We can literally buy him out from that point on too, and just give him his rest of his money this year, and then basically move on from him and completely get him off the team from that point on. So we can buy him out and give him his money and then move on from that point on, or he can rebuild his value. We trade him later and we get a second round pick off of it, maybe for a team that is looking for a backup power forward or a backup small forward, such as Dorian Finney-Smith with veteran leadership. So hopefully that helps out from that point on. Move number 4 is re-sign and extend Moussa Diabate. Maybe the Hornets don't want Moussa Diabate to be an undersized starting center for them, which is why they drafted Hornets Steinbach. Regardless, the center is way too valuable to simply let walk in this offseason that's coming up. His contract expires after this year. The Hornets will have to pay up through a probably not exponentially as of right now, but however, bring back Diabate is crucial. He is one of the best on and off players on the NBA. He plays winning basketball. That's what Charlotte needs. So Moussa basically getting to a backup center spot, but also getting paid as far as like kind of like a 6-man center, right? He is, I feel and 100% from just in total of everybody that's out here, from the Charlotte Hornets fans and everything, we all agree that Musa deserves money, right? We can understandably say that Musa deserves some type of funds, some type of money because of how he played last year. He played tremendous last year and has a starting center. Now, obviously, we don't feel, or some people don't feel, that Musa can basically be a starting center. Many feel that he's going to be a backup center, but a six-man backup center that can pretty much provide some really good minutes coming off the bench and be that first person that come off the bench. And in this necessary case, I do agree. It's been centers before that basically came off the bench and played really well. If we go back into the 2010s, you got Omer Sheik, you got Martian Gortat, who later became starting centers for their teams during that time. And then also you got people like Timofey Mozgov or something like that. So it is a role for him, right? It is something like that. If you want to go into today's game right now, Mitchell Robinson, right? Mitchell Robinson was a backup center for money time for the New York Knicks. Did get paid, finally got traded to Boston from that point on. Knicks didn't want to pay him a lot more than what they, deemed his value as. They traded him away. They wanted to keep Karl Anthony Towns at that center spot. So they moved him on. He goes to Boston. He makes his money. So it is still time for Musa, and he's still young. He's 24 years old. It's still time for Musa Diabate to pretty much make his money in the NBA. He's going to make his money, but he's going to be a backup center during this time for the Charlotte Hornets, and that's if the Hornets doesn't want to trade him during the trade deadline or anything as far as that, right? Obviously, I don't want to trade Musa. I feel like Musa definitely deserves to be at the Charlotte Hornets. I think he fits the Hornets DNA no matter what. But again, ladies and gentlemen, if he is going to resign and extend, I do not see a future of him being the starting center for this team. I do see him as a six-man type of center coming off the bench, providing energy and providing a lot of hustle for this Hornets team when they really need it, and sometimes playing in some key clutch moments, especially for the Charlotte Hornets, especially when in terms of rebounding or defensive rebounding out there. Musa is going to be out there. He's going to try to do his job. So I think Musa definitely deserves a contract extension. It's just not going to be a starting five contract extension or a starting center contract, if anything. And I think that's maybe where the discrepancy comes from that point on. So we'll see how it goes from there. Move number 5, he says trade for Trey Murphy. He says on the trade, this is the hypothetical trade that he put out there. He said Grayson Allen, who was making 18 mil for 2 years plus a year for 1 year, but I believe he has a player option or team option. 3 first-round picks. The first-round pick would be in Charlotte's first-round pick for 2027, 2027 first-round pick from Miami, and a 2028 second-round pick from Charlotte, which we already have an abundance of first-round pick, but that'll be our 2 first-round picks gone. We still have the Dallas pick from that point on for Trey Murphy, who is making $27 million for 2 years plus a player option from that point on. The Hornets have 3 potential first-round picks in 2027 NBA draft, and they really don't need all of them. Packaging 2 of them, matching salaries, could land them an intriguing talent. In this case, it should be Trey Murphy. The Pelicans are not contending right now. Murphy is going to be more expensive in the next few years, and the Hornets need a true 3-and-D wing, and Murphy would fit very well with the Hornets like to do. So let me know in the comment section how you guys feel about this trade. Again, this is not my trade. This is a SI article made by Zach Roberts. This is his trade. Now, honestly, with 3 first-round picks or 2 first-round picks for Trey Murphy and Grayson Allen wouldn't be, I feel like, a bad idea. Trey Murphy has potential, and he has shown his potential, and he could be a really good 3-and-D star potentially in this league. He is still young, and he fits the mold of what the Hornets want. Now, again, would it fit the timeline of where we at right now? Maybe we see a lineup with Trey Murphy playing the 4 and Khan playing the 2 and Brandon Miller playing the 3, and we maybe see that, right? And then we see Naz Reid playing the center or something like that, or some form of that, right? But again, it is not a good situation with him basically coming in and playing the small 4 spot, because we already are occupied at the wing spots currently as it is, for Brandon Miller and Con Knippel basically playing the 2 and 3 spots, right? So we have to make some moves and possibly, change some things up. But again, Trey Murphy playing the 4 is not it's a possibility, right? And it could fit into the timeline with the Hornets 1 and 2 first-round picks for Trey Murphy. It's not a bad idea. Now, personally, for me, I think he deserves maybe 1 and a couple second-round picks and then another player. But 2 first-round picks at that point, in terms of equal value, I do understand why you would do that. Plus, that Miami pick is a lottery protection pick, just in case if they do get injuries, like with Giannis and Bam. It is a possibility that the Miami Heat could falter a little bit lower to the lottery. Again, pending injuries, and again, bearing any injuries that happens to the Miami Heat. Obviously, we want everybody to basically compete and everything, but that lottery pick is still there. It's 15 to 30. If they do get over the lottery and do get a pick 14, a pick 13, then that pick is no longer to us. So again, just depending on situation. Now, if we've seen the best thing that's going to happen with Miami, of course, and they do win and they do everything, then that Miami pick still becomes a little bit valuable because we have multiple picks in the first round from that point on. So it's a little risk with this trade with getting Trey Murphy and bringing him onto the team. But again, if the Hornets do bring him on, I cannot see a role where he plays small forward and instead has to play power forward, and then somebody else moves down to the center or basically plays backup power forward for him. Would it be Naz Reid or would it be Hennis Steinbach playing the center, or Moussa Diabate or Ryan Copeland from that point on playing center? Who knows? But they're going to have to figure that out and get something going from there. From that point on, regardless, somebody's going to have to make a move to the shooting guard spot, whether it be Christian Anderson Jr. or Dennis Schroeder. Somebody would have to move for Grayson Allen being gone from that point on. So Trey Murphy was the trade. Let me know how you guys feel about that trade. Honestly, I do not like the trade, but again, you guys can make some good or better trades for me. Let me know in the comment section from that point on. Last but not least, move number 6, draft Cameron Williams. He said, with the lone remaining first round pick, the Hornets can keep Duke pipeline alive by selecting Cameron Williams. The Dallas Mavericks pick is most likely to convey outside the top 2, but they won't land outside the top 10 in all likelihood. Therefore, the Hornets can get a really good prospect to add to the current core, which includes Kobe White, Colin Knipple, Brandon Miller, Trey Murphy during his making of the team, Hennis Steinbach, Moussa Diabate, and Christian Anderson Jr. with that point of time. And that's who he feels is the best moves, the only 6 moves to get the Charlotte Hornets team back into playoff contention, at least for the time being, for the Eastern Conference. So you guys let me know in the comment section how you feel about Zach Roberts' list of basically trying to rebuild the team and basically making them a playoff contender in 1 year without basically overselling so much of the future. Again, we have multiple first round picks going down all the way to 2033. We have multiple second round picks going all the way to 2033. So we have plenty of picks to basically give away, and one of those picks or 2 of those picks is going to be used for Trey Murphy. The others are to re-sign Brandon Miller, to re-sign Moussa Diabate, to get rid of Dorian Finney-Smith, trade Grant Williams, and then finally draft another guard who is coming in, Cameron Williams, from that point on. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me know in the comment section how you guys feel about that rebuild in terms of Zach Roberts' SI article, and we're going to go from there. Our last and final topic of today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to the best sophomore seasons besides Khan. Is it possible to have and project the Charlotte Hornets sophomore season for these 2 or for these 3 rookies that's out there? Remember, guys, we got Ryan Copeland, Sion James, and Liam McNeely as players that is basically coming off now to their sophomore year and is looking to basically improve off of that. And again, it is a known theory called the sophomore slump, right? So we got to see if they are actually going to get past that and everything. So made by SI article, again, Owen O'Connor says, using a model built around the current ability, development, opportunity, and confidence, I predict which of Sion James, Ryan Copeland, and Liam McNeely is best positioned for a stronger sophomore season. Again, this is without Colin Knipple. We don't care about Colin Knipple for today's article. We do care, but we don't care for this particular topic, right? So he's saying during the 2025 NBA draft, the Charlotte Hornets walked away with a really good class of 4 players from that NBA draft, walked away in 2 incoming first round, 2 in the second round. With their first 2 selection, they selected Duke prospect Colin Knipple 4th overall and made a trade for the Phoenix Suns to draft, or at least acquire the draft rights to UConn Liam McNeely in the second round. And pick 33, they also pick another Blue Devil in Sion James. And then pick number 34, they pick Creighton big man Ryan Copeland. Just a year later in the draft, looked like a wise success for the Hornets. Colin Knipple ended up being 2nd in Rookie of the Year, even though I feel like he should have been number 1. This is just me saying that. Put together perhaps the greatest rookie shooting season ever. McNeely spent the majority of his time in the G League, but played a pivotal role in the Greensboro Swarm eventual G League championship. has for Sion James and Colt Brenner. These two were key role players for the Hornets who nearly pushed their way into the playoffs for the first time in a decade. With Knippel's stellar rookie season and improving role heading into year 2, it is almost certain he will continue to look like the best player for the Hornets draft class. That being said, it is unclear who will be winded up as the second best, with all three putting together a valid case. The easiest way to predict who may have the best sophomore season besides from Khan out of the three may simply just be looking at who was the best as a rookie. Though it's not necessarily accounted for development, role, or opportunity, James, Coltbrenner, and McNeely each entered their second season with different profiles, which turns this question less to who had the best rookie season and more who can turn that production and performance into a productive sophomore season. So, doing so, according to Owen O'Connell, he says, I create a predictive model that will help me to best understand who can put together the best sophomore season. In doing so, I consider 4 different aspects: currently, ability, development, opportunity, and confidence. So, current ability, development, confidence, and opportunity. Let's see how this goes from this article. He said in current ability, he do so using the 3 impact methods, which is DPM, time decay, RAPM, in 1 year RPM. If you guys don't know, that is plus minus throughout, or rate during that time. So DPM is pretty much decay plus minus. Time decay plus minus is pretty much throughout his career. Again, there's only 1 season for both of these players, and then 1 year RPM, which is something that's out there, right? He says, as each of these metrics and statistics come along differently, convert the league-wide ranking into percentiles into this model, so that way it allows the player ranking model to basically compared through statistic expressed as a percentage. And again, with age, development, and rookie season, and role and reliability, he also put all that together. Development accounts for 25% of the projection, of course. Development meaning just pretty much what is the projected development from that point on. Opportunity is pretty much 25% of the model as well. People need to play in an expected roles and be compensated for their roles. If they do not have the role, they're pretty much going to be limited. And of course, one person being Liam McNeely, of course, they were limited. He was limited and has the most upside of the group, even though being limited. But James and Coltbrenner was projected to receive around more minutes, and they will potentially get more minutes coming a long time. And then lastly, confidence, of course, that's that little 10% where minutes come up. More minutes you play, the more confidence you play. Of course, that is one of the players. So he first goes on Sion James. He says, of these sophomores, or these 3 sophomores, Sion James doesn't necessarily have the highest ceiling, though he has the strongest combination of proven impact, defensive value, and opportunity. He enters his sophomore season as the favorite to have the most productive campaign. What appears to me to be the interesting part of his rookie year was the clear disconnect with his impact metrics. He ranked 369th in DPM, which stands out as extremely worrisome. But in terms of time decay, in terms as time goes along, he finished as the 49th in the league, while also ranking the 29th defensive component of this metric, meaning and showing that it does not matter of his traditional production, but more so his strength relies on his defense, and pretty much how he is basically playing defense on that side, but also impacting the game on the offensive side, hitting some threes and also getting some rebounds as well. He's also 91st in percentile in foul rate, which, you know, in some cases, fouling a little bit more does help a little bit in terms of the plus minus. Now, it's a negative stat, of course, but again, sometimes fouling does prevent baskets from happening, and that is the reason why that percentile is a little bit higher. The sample size also gives Sion an advantage heading forward. He played 1,843 minutes. He was a Iron Man for the Charlotte Hornets and did not miss one single game for the Charlotte Hornets during the season. While this does not guarantee James will improve, it does give him a little bit more confidence knowing that he has been playing on the basketball court for throughout a whole season and did not let up not once. So it should give him a little bit more confidence coming into this next season and basically playing a little bit more games, knowing that he has played a lot more minutes than the average rookie in the NBA would. Let's talk about the offensive side of the ball, though. Sion, 11.2 usage, was expected to rise this season due to the lack of ball handlers. That is now went down with veteran guard Dennis Schroeder coming onto the team, with his usage percentage likely to stay the same, and a negative 4.7 relative true shooting percentage. Is effective that James was not an effective 3-and-D shooter or at least on the offensive side of the floor at all. His 35.2 3-point percentage somewhat give him optimism, but it's take a meaningful leap overall value. He needs to be a more effective offensive player. The encouraging part, though, is that Sion does not need to be a high volume scorer. He just needs to basically be able to consistently hit threes when it matters the most. Sion will receive plenty of opportunity this season, which is another reason he will come out the victor. He will be projected to play at least around 60 minutes per game, which allows him to have more room in his impact with his true production. Ultimately, he ranks first, has the strongest combination with this model designed to measure. He is substantially has a great NBA sample, a strong defensive impact, and Coach Charlotte seem to have trust him to have more meaningful roles down the line. While this necessarily doesn't mean that the player has the highest ceiling, he does have the highest floor, which gives him the advantage over everybody else. Now, Ryan Copeburner, another player that we're talking about, that's sophomore, something that's currently going right now. Out of the three, Ryan Copeburner produced easily the most confusing statistical profile. While his rookie season produced some of the strongest efficiency and defensive numbers in the entire NBA, his impact metrics are far less convincing than the ones that Sion James has produced, making his projection a little bit more difficult to evaluate. Copeburner finished 106 best players in the NBA in DPM, a number that placed him hundreds of spots in front of Sion James and Liam McNeely. His defensive side metric was even stronger with 73 amongst NBA players. Despite that, though, his impact, his time decay impact, was 300th and 500 in this 1 year impact. That means that despite Copeburner being a really good defensive player and basically being modeled as a really good defensive player, right? His production over time still did not equate to what he is as a player, as a defensive player. That doesn't erase the evidence of how effective Copeburner could be. It just shows the inefficiency that he has in terms of rebounding, in terms of blocking shots, and in terms of basically being impactful out there on the floor. On the offensive side of the ball, he was 99 percentile in true shooting percentage, obviously because he finished around the rim a lot, and he had 76.7% in field goal percentage. That shows how strong and efficient Copeburner can be as a finisher around the rim. As the season went on, Copeburner was starting to become a more impactful player as a rookie. His DPM improved from negative 2.2 in October to plus 0.6 in April, which shows that he is headed in the right direction and being more comfortable in the league. That being said, Copeburner's biggest issue is his opportunity. When he does get the opportunity, sometimes he does play well, but other times he is still inefficient. And it shows why he lost that starting spot to the fan favorite player, Moussa Diabate. With Copeburner just being a few days older than Diabate, is unlikely to see a dramatic change at the center position with ever evolving Diabate be basically getting better. Copeburner is projected to average around 16 minutes per game behind Moussa, and there is only so many opportunities available for his talents to translate into counting stat productions as it is. Ultimately, to keep him behind James in projection, and though he could end up as the most efficient player out of the three players and could even outperform them, it is not looking likely as of right now due to the inconsistency. Will we see a bigger production from Ryan Copeburner? That is the question. And we can see it potentially coming along with Ryan Copeburner coming along this time, because again, he's going to get some center minutes, but then again, he's going to be competing with Naz Reid. He's going to be competing with Steinbach. He's going to be competing with Moussa Diabate. And that where it's going to be a little bit of a difficult thing for Copeburner to continue to manage from that point on. Next, and finally, Liam McNeely, the only 3 first-round picks out of the 3. Liam McNeely must be the difficult player to basically project out of the 3. While he has the most intriguing developmental upside of the group, McNeely produced a rookie season that provided me with the least amount of NBA evidence to work with. While he has fascinating upside in his long term, he's a difficult player to project, as Charlotte most productive sophomore behind Conklin in 2026-2027 season. McNeely received just a fraction of a workload that's giving him Sion James, where he basically played only 368 minutes. His advanced metric clearly reflect that role, where he basically had 380 in DPM, 291 in time decay, and 307 in 1 year rate. Looking at his NBA production will miss likely the most important part of his rookie season. Now, when you take a look at his G League season, He had the vast majority of his G League season. He was pivotal in the reason why Greensboro Swarm won their first G League championship. And Liam had 19.6 points per game while also having a 23.1 usage rating, a 64.7 true shooting percentage, a 14% assist rate, and 11.7 turnover rate. Those numbers shows that he can be very impactful on the offensive end if giving some more time out there on the NBA floor. This is why McNeely is the biggest upside player out of the three. His limited NBA role does not mean that he lacks the ability to contribute. Rather, that Charlotte did not give him the opportunity to basically give him responsibility as a rookie. A situation that may not change heading into year two, of course, because you have other players that's going to be filling up that wing spot, such as Grayson Allen, Royce O'Neal, Dorian Finney-Smith. So McNeely current minutes projection is only around 6, and there may not be a lot of playing time available for any improvement to translate into production that is needed to surpass James and Courtburner. This ultimately is why McNeely falls third in projections. While he may take the largest development leap, there's difference between being a player that's more than likely to have some minutes and players that may not, and therefore it is not a best bet against talent, rather a bet against the opportunity that is going to be presented with himself. So his final rankings, he puts Sion James as number 1. Ryan Courtburner has the best case to challenge Sion James, and then finally Liam McNeely, who is a wild card at this point due to the fact of opportunity. So that's how he ranks the sophomore era. Let me know your best 3 players in terms of coming into this NBA season for season number 2 for these sophomores. Who is going to be the better sophomore? Is it going to be Sion James number 1? Is it going to be Courtburner number 2 and Liam McNeely number 3? How would you rank them? Would you put Liam at number 1? Would you put Courtburner number 2, Sion James number 3? How would you rank these players? For me personally, I think Sion is obviously number 1. I think Liam is number 2. He's going to get more minutes. I feel like this Hornets roster and GM is going to be looking to get him some minutes because the way he has been playing in Summer League and G League, it just makes sense to continue giving him some minutes later on throughout the season. So it's going to eventually come, but just not now. And I think Courtburner is going to be number 3. I think the idea of having a shot blocking center is good. And the idea of having a bigger center is good. And we have size already as it is, but we're going to see that other players are going to be a little bit more impactful on both ends of the floor more than Ryan Courtburner. I don't believe that Courtburner is going to be consistent enough to basically continue playing center minutes has right now. Do I feel like he falls out the rotation? No, he's always going to be in the rotation because we need a shot blocking center and we need bigs that can basically push around other people. And I think Courtburner does that very well, and he also finishes around the rim very well. And I think he's going to get set up with a lot of passes with Kobe and Dennis Schroeder being out there. The main thing for me with Courtburner is just basically his consistency out there, right? Getting rebounds as much as possible, adding to his game, whether it be a hub or whether to basically shoot some threes or whether to basically be a better passer or whatever. I think that's the main goals of what we want him to basically improve on, right? But he is still a little bit slow-footed in terms of guarding against the drop in PNR. He still struggles with that. He's a really good rim protector, and that's his job. But when it comes outside, when people can shoot, when fives can shoot outside from the three-point line and hit consistent three-pointers, can he be able to switch on guards? Can he be able to basically play the PNR and play up on the PNR? And my question and my answer to that right now, according to the Summer League, is no. So I think Ryan Courtburner is going to be number 3. I think Liam shows the most improvement, right? I think if given some time in NBA, if something should happen, whether it be injury, and God forsaken if an injury happens, of course, but say if an injury does happen, because just the luck that we've been in the past 10 to 11 years, Liam could basically excel at a spot. And I feel as though that could be very vital for him to basically improve coming off to his sophomore season, right? And then obviously Sion James is going to be always a major factor because he has the trust of Coach Lee. He's going to be playing some minutes, and hopefully he does improve because the more minutes you play, the more confidence you feel, the more idea that you have basically being on an NBA floor and basically competing against NBA athletes, the more confidence you feel, the better you feel basically earning the coach trust. I think Sion James take that push. Now, if he regress, that's a shocking development from that point on. But again, I think that's the 3. I think Sion, Liam, Ryan Courtburner, that's how it's supposed to be. You guys let me know in the comment section how would you rank them, and let me know why you ranked them that certain point. We're going to be out of here. We do appreciate every single body that basically tuned into the show for today. This has been a really good show for a time being. A lot of good topics. We talked for almost close to 45 minutes. So I do appreciate every single one of you guys that basically tuned in. Make sure you put in the comments what your favorite topic is for today's show. And then, as always, ladies and gentlemen, make sure that you subscribe. We're very close to 1.2. We're going to try to hit it by the end of the summer. So please do subscribe and make sure you hit that notification bell, as we do put out a video almost every single day at 11 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. as well. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, from the Charlotte Hornets podcast and from me, my name is Tayvon. We do appreciate every single one of you guys that basically post your comments. And we want you to have a great rest of your day. I had a great weekend. I hope you guys had a great weekend. We're back now getting some Charlotte Hornets news. Peace out, everybody.